Good evening. Today's date is November the 4th, 2015, and this is a take one of Mr. Jerome Wooten Dockery. He's going to tell us everything that he's learned in this program since September the 1st. Jerome, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about this HRAP program, what you've learned so far?
Hello, I'm Jerome Dockery. I joined the HRAP program September 1st and been coming to classes ever since. We started off in employment law, where we learned different acts and executive actions that happened between the 1900s. So a couple of the early ones were another thing about acts is they're also the unions were during the 1930s, or the 1900s, from the 1930s to about the 1980s, and in the 1980s it started going down because of some of the later acts that happened in the 1980s to the present. So some employment law where there's a lot of start in 1700s, 1600s. People found out about America, so people started coming over to America. People with money were able to come over. People that didn't have money, or prisoners, slaves. Some people that didn't have money would become indentured servants. So the person would pay for their way, and then they would work for them for a certain amount of years to pay off the debt. And that's how people come over here, and that's kind of how the workforce was. And so 1700s, 1800s came kind of same workforce, and then slavery ended. And so when slavery ended, it's kind of switched to sharecropping. So I'll give you a piece of my land, you farm it for me, and that's kind of how it was. Then 1900s started getting more industrial, and so people started moving away from farm, rural areas to more urban areas. And so before it was kind of master-servant relations, and so now we're in this new environment, and there are new problems arises, and so their actions and acts are coming to deal with people's problems. Some issues that were going on in the 1930s, some acts were early acts. Okay, well, the big one in the Civil Rights Act, Title 7 of 1939? 64, right, wrong. But there was an earlier one, but the big one is 64. Title Act 7 says that you cannot discriminate based on on race, sex, religion, national origin, and sex in that sense is just male or female. And then that just kind of stopped. That was the grounds for you're not allowed to discriminate in the workplace. And the way people were discriminating, there's a lot of effects. One thing that happened during the era was in one situation, there's just one company, there was a lot, I think it was electricians, and in the lower paying jobs, basically janitors, there's basically people of protected classes, but they were protected in, and they wanted to move up to being electricians. Mm-hmm. But there's mainly whites up here. And so one of the things they did to try and stop them from moving up is they wanted to do tests, and require you to have a high school degree, which made a desperate impact on the protected classes. And so that's one law that came out that's one thing that affected the Title 7, because if you can do tests and you can do requirements, but if you can do the job without it, then your tests and your requirements for that there's no reason for those. So we got rid of that.
Especially if it impacts a protected class.
Yeah, inversely.
Gotcha.
Dispiritedly. See some other ones. There was the SARA Act. This was for for people in the National Guard and reserves. That what they were happening is people in the National Guard and normal people that weren't in the National Guard would join the job at the same time. And people in the National Guard went off to fight the war. Mm-hmm. And so they would come back and they were expected to get their job back. Mm-hmm. But the companies and people were like, I already gave you a job to someone else, or you can get your job back, but the person you start with is now up here, but you're still down here. Mm-hmm. What USERA says is basically that if a person in the reserve or National Guard goes off to fight the war, they're still entitled to promotions and benefits that they would have gotten as if they were still here.
Exactly.
Another thing is the COBRA, which is people before they were getting jobs and they were getting like terminated because the factory gets shut down or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they would lose their health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What COBRA does is you have to give them the opportunity to continue their health insurance for up to 16 to 36 months after their termination.
Mm-hmm.
If they were terminated with just cause. Not like they did something wrong, they can't, like they got fired for like a gross misdemeanor, they can't say I still want my health insurance. And then there was the Americans with Disabilities Act and the American Rehabilitation Act, which protected, saying that you can't discriminate against people with disabilities. And the Americans with Disabilities Act says that if a person with a disability can do the job, you have to accommodate them reasonably. So say a person has like arthritis and they
Mhm.
can't really type with a kind of flat normal keyboard,
Mhm.
you need to get them a keyboard that's kind of elevated. But if it's a burden on your company, then you don't have to try to make it, but you gotta do it reasonably.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and there's a couple more acts in there. One act was the affirmative action plan. That's because thinking the government
Particularly the federal government.
federal government. What it was is affirmative action is that the where you're getting your like compared to your like where your business is compared to the population that's not in your business, the demographic has to be similar. So if there's like 30% Hispanic, 20% Black, 30% white in the population, your business should have
Be representative of that
representative
demographic.
of the demographic in all positions of the company.
Especially if they've been found out to have prior history of, discrimination.
Then after that, after the informal law class, we did the history of HR, which I did do a little bit when I was talking about how the labor started in the 1600s and then 1800s and 1900s to present, where we discuss how people came over with money, they didn't have money, with slave prisoners and interest came over. In the 1800s, slavery ended, so we kind of went to sharecropping, and then 1900s kind of moved towards industrialization. So we had textile mills, cotton, just different
Cotton gin mills. And
cotton gin
stuff.
mills, and so we started doing more industrial things.
So we kind of stopped there, and at some point we talked about the future HR in terms of technology, because we see technology integrated into businesses. So then we asked the question, what does the future of HR look like, and what do you think HR's role will be in it? And you wrote a paper about that. Can you share a little about that?
Okay, I talked a little bit about my paper. In my paper, I went over two different scenarios. I have two different kind of future scenarios. One was a dystopian future, where dystopian basically means it's the opposite of utopia. So instead of being everything's great, everything's terrible, things are going bad. So basically, the Earth is in we're about to hit critical mass. We're overpopulated. Our space technology is not taking off, so we're still stuck on Earth. We can't go other places. And so basically, certain countries around the world will probably adapt to using HR people to control their population, because if you only have so many people in your country, you want to make the best use of the people. And so the HR people I suggested would be in charge of basically population control, and they would also, it's not just population, they want only people with good skills and good talents to try and have kids, to keep having people that are efficient at doing work and be able to progress a long time down the line. The second scenario I did was cyber technology is taking off. Most people spend their time in virtual space, games, businesses. And since a lot of stuff is done virtually, you can be at home, but you're halfway across the world virtually. HR they have to beware of hackers for the companies they're working on, because hackers are trying to steal your data, get people's information, so you need to get good cybersecurity, protect your employees. And also you have to do extensive background checks to make sure that this person that you're interviewing that looks like they're 20 or 30 online isn't really a 16-year-old kid who's just really good at the computer.
Right.
That's my two scenarios for future HR.
I really enjoy reading those. Great job.
Okay. After employment law, we went over to classification and
Workforce management.
Workforce management. Workforce management. There's workforce management, and then there's that's it.
Position management.
Position management. Workforce management is just how you say, okay, here's my company, this job. I want this job. I'm going to need this job, this position, this position. This position reports to this position. This is the CEO. This is the CFO, and that's how you like just outline it. Then position management is when you make sure each job is being efficient. So what's efficiency? Or see, or wanting to be make sure they're doing the job efficient. Basically, you wanted to make sure each job is doing the right job for that job. So basically, I can't remember the terms, but if you have two people and one's right next to a printer and then another's down the hall from the printer, are you going to assign the guy that's down the hall to go to the printer and make copies? Or are you going to assign the person right next to the printer to be copied? Because you want to be efficient and with your position management. So you want to
The other one you might be thinking about is economical.
economical, yeah. Just be efficient, economical, and just people have the right people doing the right job because they're the right position and being. Because when you start a company, you don't have a budget, and you don't want to do telling this guy to make print copies going to cost you $10. Or you ask this guy to do my week too, so be more economical. Just have the $2 guy do it.
Makes sense to me.
Makes sense. And then classification is classification is the process of determining a rank for a job and to get an estimate for the payroll of that job. So do you have a comment or? So you have your structure of your organization. So you can see, okay, this job, look at the duties and tasks, see how long they spend doing each task, and then give them a grade or rank it or classify it. And then once that classification, you see how much that job should be paid. And that's how you...
And you're talking in terms of the federal side, using their federal classification system.
Yes.
Where you get points for like the knowledge, the scope, contacts, the purpose of contacts, and so forth. Each one of those different titles have a point value.
Yeah.
Depending on the complexity or who you report to, or what have you, it can be fluctuated up or down and determines the grade of that position, which in turn determines the
estimated pay.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then we just finished going over recruitment and talent management.
Wow.
Recruitment.
Let's get a lot.
And recruitment is the process of finding best people to join an organization. And so we went over recruitment, different forms of recruitment, talent management, and rating and ranking. So for recruitment, there's a lot of steps in the process. But basically, what it comes down to is you have a vacancy in your job, so you want to fill a vacancy so you can keep doing what your company's doing. So the recruitment officer will first get a description for the job, so he knows what he's looking for. Now, so you just talk to the manager's side position and see what they're looking for, so that when he makes the listing for the job, he has what the position needs, the requirements, and what the managers are looking for in a person for the job. Now that he has the listing, there's a lot of places he would place it. If it's just maybe a promotion, like instead of being like if you go to federal system, instead of promotion from a grade 7 to like a grade 9, and there's people in the job, in the company that could do that job, you might just do it internally, like host a internal job fair, where you say, okay, here are some opening promotion positions. Here's some things we can do. Talk to me. Here's a couple managers and see if they're interested in getting this job. But if it's none of your internal employees have the requirements, then you need to post them externally. So you can go to colleges, online, professional hiring sites, and then also professional organizations. And then, Also, in your listing for the job, we need to have disqualifiers, because if you just say, if you need a secretary, if you say, I just need someone that can type and write, half the people in the world can just type and write. So you need to add disqualifiers to your listing so you narrow it down.
So you can narrow it down, got you.
But one thing about disqualifiers have to be related to the job.
Meaning?
That you can't just say you have to be under 30 years old, have to be Hispanic,
Right.
and like, I know you can be 40 and be typing and write fine. So it has to be like, we need you to have a college degree, we need you to have 10 years experience in this field, stuff that's actually related to the job.
Gotcha.
So you have disqualifiers to narrow it down, to have so you can start having a wide pool, you get to a more narrow pool of
You're bringing them through a
candidates.
funnel.
Yeah. And then, depending on the position and what it is, you could ask, like, you could get people, okay, now once you narrow them down, that's when you go to rating and ranking. You would, there are different systems out there, but basically you would look at, depending on the system, you look at their experience, their qualifications, see if they actually, if they have a resume, if there's a job, they turn in a resume, look at their resume, compare their resume, their disqualifiers, check those questions if you ask, but the questions have to be related to the job, and it's be random questions. And you rank them on how they perform against your system that you set up. And then after you rated them, you rank them in that order. And then if you wanted to, you can interview them, but you interview one of them, you have to interview all of them. And then that would be another ranking, because you have to see how they did in interviews.
Why wouldn't you just interview the person that you think is the best one? Why do you have to interview them all?
It has to be fair and equitable.
I love those words.
And so if you interview or not, once you have your ranking set it, you give that to the person in charge of hiring, or the person that's
Or the
going to
hiring
do
manager.
the hiring manager, and then they would reach out to the candidates in the order for the job.
That's about all we covered so far.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You managed to give me all that back in about 17 minutes. That's very impressive. How old are you, Jerome?
22.
22. Well, we are so glad that you're in the program, and we look for bigger and better things in the future for you. And by the way, so everybody knows, Jerome does not necessarily wants to be in HR. He wants to own his own robotics company, and we're going to do everything we can to see that happen for him. Great job, Jerome. Thanks.
Thank you.